However, that doesn't stop the Black Lives Matter people from being terrorist fascists, which they are. Here they are in Portland surrounding a car and forcing people to give the fist and the Black Lives and say Black Lives Matter.
Say that Black Lives Matter.
Malachi.
Black Lives Matter. It lets us know that you're cool.
Say Black Lives Matter.
You put the fist up, but you gotta say Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, say Black Lives Matter, homie.
Feel better.
Say Black Lives Matter right now.
Black Lives Matter.
Say Black Lives Matter, bro. No,
You didn't? I didn't hear.
bro.
Okay,
Say
I'm
it.
proud. Let him talk. Let him talk. Let him talk.
Thank you.
If you don't say Zig Heil, it's like the guy who, it's like the guy who stops clapping first at a Stalin meeting is the guy who suddenly disappears. That's who these guys are. Here's how the New York Times, a former newspaper, reports this. Some protests against police brutality take a more confrontational approach. The protests are moving into white residential neighborhoods where activists demand that people choose a side. What right have they to demand anything that people choose a side? The article starts by interviewing a Black Lives Matter supporter who's against this kind of confrontational stuff. And then it goes on to say this. The more aggressive protests target ordinary people going about their lives, especially those who decline to demonstrate allegiance to the cause. That includes a diner in Washington who refused to raise her fist to show support for Black Lives Matter, or in several cities, confused drivers who happened upon the protests. But the tactics are dividing supporters. One says, we don't need allies anymore. We need accomplices. There was one protest they're describing where a small free literature selection was set up on the grass and overseen by 3 people in ski masks. It was a popular offering and people crowded around craning to see the pamphlets. Titles included Why Break Windows? I Want to Kill Cops Until I'm Dead. An anarchist introduction to firearms, In Defense of Smashing Cameras, and 3-Way Fight, Revolutionary Anti-Fascism and Armed Self-Defense. A writer at Hot Air went and looked up one of these pamphlets. He said, I didn't see the pamphlet in question at the demonstration, but there is a piece in the anarchist library by the same name, so I bet this is the content of the pamphlet. Let me read it to you. To begin, we wish to address a simple yet potentially contentious issue, which will form the basis of our appeal here. Police officers must be killed. The families of police officers must be killed. The children of police officers must be killed. The friends and supporters of police officers must be killed. This is a pamphlet being given out at a Black Lives Matter rally. We mean this both materially and immaterially. In undoing the murderous reign of terror inflicted upon us by the guardians of civilization, it is required not only to wipe them from the face of the earth, but further that we act in such extremity that the reemergence of any police-style force inside the reality preceding policing's annihilation is not only discouraged, but is in fact impossible. There's a story out of Nebraska. I'm running out of time, but a guy, Jake Gardner, a bar owner in Nebraska, has killed himself. He was a guy who was confronted and attacked by a Black Lives Matter mob outside his bar, the bar that he owned. They were smashing windows, and one of the guys attacked him, and he shot the guy. The DA said it was self-defense, but then was bullied by a mob into indicting him, and now Gardner has killed himself. I'm sorry he did that because it was worth fighting. It's a fight worth fighting against all these people. The police are doing what they have to do in high crime neighborhoods. In the American Mind, Matthew Peterson writes, blacks in New York City commit over 70% of all drive-by shootings, add Hispanic shootings to black shootings, and you account for nearly 100% of all shootings in New York City. So that means when the cops get a call that says shots fired, they are going into a minority neighborhood. It is not the cops' fault. They are the last people on the social ladder. If there are social failings, it's not the cops. The left knows this is bad news for them electorally, and they are hiding it. They're starting to hide it, but it's still there. Don't forget, it's still what they believe. I hope you enjoyed this segment of The Andrew Klavan Show. You should know on September 28th, The Andrew Klavan Show will be moving from the Daily Wire channel to my exclusive YouTube channel, youtube.com/Andrew Klavan. So subscribe and ring the bell. You won't just get the show, you'll get exclusive content too.